Coming up on today's show, we highlight the Nehemiah Project and the recent launch of the Wright Place for Kids. Joy in the City, True Stories is a program that highlights people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and the dysfunction in our culture. But we're coming from a different approach as we look at the good things that are going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. The former Wright Elementary School was purchased in 2018 by the Nehemiah Project. Today we're going to hear about plans for the 77,655 square foot building recently renamed the Wright Place for Kids.
Hi, my name is Bethany Stanton, and we're at the Wright Place for Kids, which is the former Wright Elementary School in the Lower Fairview neighborhood of Altoona. We're here with several people this morning. Pastor Jim Balzano, who's the pastor at Transformation Church and the president and founder of the Nehemiah Project. We're here with Peter Jowdry, who's the CEO of the Nehemiah Project. We're here with George Sikandi, who is a board member of Arts Altoona, and with Frank Capriva, who's the program director of the Blair Regional YMCA. We're just going to ask these gentlemen a few questions about their involvement with the Wright Place for Kids and the Nehemiah Project. Pastor Jim, can you share with us for a few minutes about your vision for the Nehemiah Project, what it's been, and what it will be in the future?
Well, let me start at the beginning. All right. As many people know, as you yourself know, we started a project in what was known as Lower Fairview in 2005 when our church took on an abandoned, condemned church that sits on the corner of 16th Street, or 16th Avenue and 11th Street. And we put $1.3 million into that project. But as we did that, we began to look around at the neighborhood, and we saw that there was a lot of needs in the neighborhood that we needed to address. So we created a separate 501c3 called the Nehemiah Project. It's a faith-based community development organization. Through that, we began to take down blighted properties. We began to get rid of condemned properties. You know, all of them had the same effects. They had drug paraphernalia in them, pornography in them, overall health hazards. They were fire hazards. We eliminated them, got them out of here. Then the other thing we did was we then put a playground in. We put a beautiful playground in because there was nowhere for families to play, nowhere for moms and dads to take their kids to play. And so we put that in. As we continued from there, then we began to dream of what else we could do in this neighborhood to serve this neighborhood. And so this building became available. And I got to tell you, at first, I just said, no, I don't want it. It's too big. It could be an albatross. It's 77,000 square feet. How much is it going to take to heat? How much is it going to take to pay for the water, the insurance, and all of that? But then I really believe that in the spring of 2016, the Lord said to me, buy the building. And so we did. We began that process. We closed this past year on March 28th. And it's been a journey. What do I want to see in it? You know, when I dream of this building, I dream of a place where kids can come. Kids can discover latent talent that they don't know, that their parents don't know, that kids can pursue dreams, that kids can pursue destinies. I dream of kids being able to come in here who have an athletic bent, but maybe doesn't have the resources or the opportunities afforded to them outside of a place like this, that they can find that in here. I dream of artists finding their niche in here, whether that be in painting, drawing, dance, singing, whatever, performing arts. I dream of it being a place where kids can learn how to do computer arts, graphic arts, that kind of stuff. I just see it as a place where I use a term that we're going to allow kids to come in here, have programs through various partners, our own programs, that the term I use is we're going to mine this neighborhood and this area for talent and destiny. It's a place where a kid can really, really find their niche and excel.
Thank you, Pastor. Can you talk to us about some of the needs that you have at the Wright Elementary School, financial and otherwise?
Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying. The easy part was buying the building. Now, what I mean by that is, you know, we needed $140,000 to buy the building. Well, we raised some money, and Reliance Bank came in, and they helped us significantly, as well as some other partners, in buying it. That was the easy part. The ongoing is the hard part. Right now, we need about $15,000 a month just to meet our needs of this building and the Nehemiah Project. And so we need, one of the things we need is we need people to come alongside of us. I'm doing a thing right now where I'm asking for 2019, I'm looking for 100 people, organizations, or a combination of those in churches that would come together and help us raise $15,000 a month. What I'm looking for is something like this. If I could get 10 people or organizations to give us $500 a month, if I could get 20 to give us $250 a month, 30 at $100 a month, and 40 at $50 a month, that adds up to $15,000 a month, which would help us significantly meet our needs this next coming year. That's a doable thing. It's a little bit of bite-sized chunks for all different entities, whether it's an organization or an individual. So right now, one of our biggest challenges are obviously the ongoing cost of paying for the building, as well as looking for what we call partners. And those are other organizations such as Art Altoona, such as the Y, who want to come in here, be a partner, share a common DNA that's about kids and benefiting kids, that we can work on this thing together, because we're better together.
All right, and we're also here with Peter Jowdery, and he's the CEO of the Nehemiah Project. Can you share with us a little bit about how you came to be a part of the Nehemiah Project?
Well, I have been associated with Pastor Jim for many, many years, and I was here when we began the 501c3, the charitable organization that laid the kind of the legal framework for the Nehemiah Project back in 2005. I didn't live here, I lived elsewhere, came here back and forth, and have ever since then been on the board and have been the secretary of the board for all of that time, I believe. And so it was only about a year and a half ago that I came to live here in this area here in Blair County. And so it's been a learning curve for me, and having to meet a whole lot of new people. Most of the people I've met, some of whom are sitting here, are nice, but I'm telling you, for the most part, it's been just a real joy to learn to get to know this community. And what I'm finding interesting is, we were just at a meeting earlier this morning, and what I'm finding interesting is people come up to me all the time and say, we're just appreciative of what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. We can see good things ahead. We can see based on your past, and this is interesting because we talk about history bringing credibility. And when we took the church over and we put the $1.3 million into it, plus labor, all the free labor that went into it, you probably have in excess of $2 million into that building. And what's interesting, Pastor Jim, is that, you know, people wondered if we were going to be able to do that. They wondered if this was ever going to come to pass. There were some folks that said, well, we'll see how far they get. Well, the history has given us some credibility. We have some street cred now, and of course you have partnering ministries, like when we started the Foundry years ago. The Foundry now is its own separate organization. It's a 10-bed residential facility for men. Other things that we've done, like the Father's Table, the Father's House. Again, we don't supervise those ministries any longer, but they are cousin ministries. And the park, of course, looks as pristine today as it did the day we opened it. It's because we have presence in the community, and it matters. So when as I said, I'm in this community, it's new to me, and yet I'm finding it to be home, and I'm finding that people are very, very gracious, and they're appreciative of what the Nehemiah Project is all about.
So what are some of the challenges that you see in the neighborhood and some of the needs that you want to and hope to meet in the future?
Well, this neighborhood is really no different than any other neighborhood. Obviously, the neighborhood in which the former Wright Elementary School, the Wright Place for Kids, exists is a needy neighborhood. It's not, you know, the prime neighborhood in which to live in Blair County. Having said that, it's no different than any other neighborhood. It just, the socioeconomic level is a little lower. So there is some poverty and some blight, but there's drugs and there's alcohol abuse and there's you know, there's some crime and there's those kind of things. But listen, every neighborhood has challenges, and we want to be the part of the solution to the challenges of this neighborhood. And the folks in this neighborhood are not they and we're not us. It's all of us, and we're in this together, and we're here to serve, and we're here to be a part of the solution. And so we kind of yoke up, you know, together with other organizations. One of the things that Pastor Jim and you know, kind of the ethos of Pastor Jim is we don't need to be the big dog. We don't need to be the main dog. We just want to be a part of what's happening, and we want to cooperate with others. That's why we have George and Frank here today, because they are wanting to cooperate with us.
And we have George Sicandi here. George, can you tell us a little bit about what Arts Altoona does?
Sure. I'd like to say, first of all, that I came into Pastor Jim's orbit, I think, about 5 years ago now. at a men's prayer breakfast retreat and realized that I had a brother in terms of vision for this community. So excited to be able to bring that full circle and actually be able to be a part of this. We realized about that time that there were several main problems that exist here in Blair County, big overarching problems. The unemployment rate in this community right now is less than 5%. There are today 7,100 fewer Bethanies in Blair County than there were 10 years ago. And demographically, they're projecting that that's going to double in the next 10 years. So if we don't do something about retaining people in this community and doing something that we can attract people into the community, our companies are not going to be able to grow. They're not going to find the talent and the skill sets that they need. And that eventually then becomes part of that spiral. The other challenge that we see that's really important that the Transformation Church has really been working on as well is the fact that there are roughly about 100,000 people now in Blair County. 33,000 of us today are at or below federal poverty guidelines. We have the highest per capita percentage of 16 to 21-year-olds in Blair County that are neither in school or working. They have no connection with their community at all. That's a huge challenge. Poverty has become an institution. It's not situational poverty. It's not a mom that's gotten divorced and has 3 kids and is struggling, although there's some of that. But traditionally in our county, it's institutional, it's multi-generational. And the only way that we're going to be able to do anything about that is by hitting the kids that this vision is aimed at. If we can provide them with hope and the skill sets that they need and a belief in themselves, there's a huge opportunity. So one of the projects that we're doing, and this is where we come in here at the Wright Place for Kids, is that we started an after-school arts program that is free for kids. They'll be able to come here twice a week with an arts educator and begin their skill sets from a very basic level and then advance those where they get to the point where somebody can look at a project that they're doing and go, wow. And when I've seen that in the past, something amazing happens to these kids. And I was here on Thanksgiving evening for the dinner that the group was sponsoring. And it was amazing. We were doing some art projects for kids just to give them a little taste of what we were going to do. And this little gal came up to me. She came up like 2 or 3 times to do one of the projects. And I told her that we were going to be coming here and offering free classes. And she said, oh, that's nice. I said, what's the matter? I said, I don't think my family can afford that. And I said, it's free. It won't cost you anything. And honestly, little tears just started coming down her cheek. The ability to come together as a community in this project is huge. We have an opportunity to make an impact in those 2 major concerns that leaders in this community have identified. And if we come together as a community and attack this, something amazing is going to happen here.
Wonderful. Thank you, George. Frank, can you tell us a little bit about the Hollidaysburg YMCA?
Sure, yeah. I don't know that I have as much history with the group as George might have, but we've actually worked, the Y has worked with the Nehemiah Project with a guy named George Bell through a track and field program. And so we've had a relationship with some of the kids that participate in that program and George and have developed a friendship. And when this building was becoming a project, the Y was asked to come be a part of a tour. And when we walked through the building, it just was amazing how big 77,000 square feet can feel. And just the opportunity seemed such a project that the Y should really be a part of it. And it aligned perfectly with how the Y is evolving. The Hollidaysburg Y was founded in 1912, and we're in the second building, which has been renovated twice. And we also have a second facility which hosts our child care center. So the Y has grown and evolved over the years, and Ys are supposed to reflect the communities they serve. So much like Pastor Jim and Peter have said, you know, they're looking for people with like DNA. Well, it felt like we had a connection immediately when we started talking about what our goals of the organizations and how we do things, because in the Y's mission statement, We provide healthy opportunities for people to grow in spirit, mind, and body, and we do it for all. So financial obligations should not mean anything when it comes to participating in Y activities and programs. And so the Y has actually changed our name back in March, about the time the building was being closed upon, to be the Blair Regional YMCA. Because when we were looking at ourselves and saying, who are we, what do we have going on here, we realized 25% of our membership has an Altoona zip code. So somehow these people need something, want something enough that they're commuting to Hollidaysburg, to our location. So we would like to be a little more convenient, but we don't have a blueprint of this is what a Y is, this is what a Y does. It's what does this community need? So we're kind of going through the same process that the Nehemiah Project is in the Wright Place. And so we're trying to figure that out, and we have some pretty good ideas that we're working on. And some might take a little longer to come to fruition than others, but hopefully we'll be getting some things started here in the very near future where we can be creating opportunities to mine the talent of the kids and give them those chances. And much like George and Arts Altoona, we don't want cost to be a burden. If that is an issue, then we'll find ways to make it work.
Sure. Can you share with us some specifics about what you hope to do in the building?
Absolutely. In the nearest future, we'd like to just start some general programming. And we try to make it somewhat ambiguous because the Y stands for healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility. But within our programming, we have 4 tenets that we follow: respect, honesty, caring, and responsibility. So when we run a basketball program or we run, you might see us as a swim and gym, but that's really not what we really are at heart. We provide opportunities to teach respect, to teach responsibility, and we don't have to do everybody plays, everybody wins, because competition is a fact of life, and we don't have to ignore that, but we have to learn how to deal with it because it is how the world is. So those are the kind of things. So sports programming, youth, mostly it'll just be physical activity programming, and we're not sure the name of it. It could be something like Y Fit Kids or something along those lines. But using the gymnasium, the other places. We also have some virtual reality and e-gaming going on at the Y, so that is easily something that could be transported here and set up home, so that's something that we could get involved with. And then the big long-term project, there has been a short study done, and there's definitely a need for childcare in this, and this building is conducive to that. So that's kind of the big project that it wouldn't replace what we have, but childcare is something that the Y does, and we think we do it pretty well, and we'd like to do it in a place that needs it.
One of the things, Bethany, that was interesting when we had our opening, the night we had our opening, we had this family come through, and a gentleman was holding a child in his arms and carrying holding a child with his hand, you know, kind of moving through, and he said, where's the child care? When's that going to start? And he just said, listen, we are in a position where both of us work and we can't afford child care. He said, on the other hand, if we don't work, we're in trouble because we can't pay our bills. And so he said, somehow I've got to get some child care. And so that's why it's very exciting to hear that the Y is considering to be a part of the Right Place for Kids as it relates to child care, because this neighborhood is very, very needy. And of course, people can come. The school bus stop is right in front of the school. And so why not, you know, include child care with it? And of course, the close proximity to UPMC, the hospital, all that kind of stuff, that is, makes this a prime location for child care. So we're excited about the Y being a part of it.
You know, one of the things, George, when you were talking about the demographics and you were giving those statistics, man, it just kept coming to me that we've got to change that narrative. What we're about as organizations, what this building's about, you know, other organizations, because certainly we're not the only ones in town, but it's about changing that narrative. And how do we do that? Because some people have asked me before, how do you know when you've been successful? And I think one of the key components of that is that the narrative has changed.
Right.
And we've got to see that narrative change.
Right. The story really matters. And you tell a story. I just gave a little vignette of a story. Every one of us has stories of how lives have changed. One of the things I tried to do is when I speak to groups here in the community, one of the things I try to do is tell them that what you're doing is not just affecting that person. You're affecting generations. you're changing the destiny of not only you, that person, but you're changing the destiny of their children, their grandchildren. And I have a couple of personal stories that I tell about my family, how people helped us in my heritage, and how it's changed the destiny of my family. And so I say that we want to affect generations. And what better place to start than the Right Place for Kids?
I think that the timing is just perfect. We have a new generation of leadership in Blair County that gets it, that isn't buying into that old narrative, and is casting a new vision for this community.
Sure.
The fact is, though, that this is a relatively small community. There are only so many folks with deep pockets that can make things happen. So providing a platform where people can come together, share resources, impact people in a way as a community project, as opposed to all of us being in silos, doing our own thing, and perhaps maybe unintentionally duplicating services that are being provided. So coming together as nonprofits in a community, we can feed off of each other's strengths, each other's energies and resources, and have a greater impact on the community than we would if any one of us were trying to do this alone.
Sure.
You know, one of the things we always tell is we did what we call the 11th Street building, the church on the corner of 16th Avenue and 11th Street. It really became a shared resource where we have a church that meets here on Saturday nights led by John Gray called Hope Community Church. Midtown Church meets there on Sunday mornings. We have a barber shop in there. Head Start uses the building. We have the Father's House in there. And then what happens is our church subsidizes the difference of what they bring in versus what's needed. And so now you have a shared resource in a small inner city context that none of those entities on their own could have. We can do the same thing here on a bigger scale.
I've seen this model in other communities. As I was doing research for the Arts Altoona projects, there's one that comes to my mind that is in Harrisburg on Dairy Street. It's probably in its 10th year now. They've incubated probably about 30 nonprofits that are serving that community. So by having a facility where the emerging nonprofits, the established nonprofits can come together, feed off of each other, learn from each other, share those resources, has an even greater impact on what the community can do.
Yeah, love it.
One of the things we find, Pastor Jim, and you've heard this before, others have said it to us, is we find over and over again when people take what we call the Nehemiah Project tour, is they say, we didn't know. There was a businessman who we hosted many months ago, probably a year ago now, and more than a year ago. And he just came and stood in the street corner and said, I've never been in this neighborhood. And he has become a significant part of the Nehemiah Project, and he's become a significant part of the Right Place for Kids. He said, I've never been here in this community and in this neighborhood. And then when you add to that, okay, so let's take the tour. Let's go to the church. Let's go and see where the foundry is. Let's go and see where the townhouse project's going to be. Let's go and see where some of the other things that we've done in the community. Let's go and see those, and we take the tour. It takes about an hour. And I had some folks here the other day, and they said the same thing I've heard over and over again. We didn't know. We did not know this was going on. Well, I'm sure if people were to tour the Y facility or tour the Altoona facility, they would say something similar there too. They would say, well, we didn't realize all this was happening. And so, there's all these best kept secrets out there. And of course, I always encourage people to get a group together, set up a date with us, call our office, 201-2096, and say, we want to take the Nehemiah Project tour. We'll just make it happen for you, because I think once you see it, you kind of go, okay, now we get it.
Why don't you let people know what other organizations are doing some stuff in the near future in the building?
Okay, well that's a lot of fun to do that, because we have, of course, Blair County Drug and Alcohol. We'll be doing a program here with parents and their children, and helping parents buoy their parenting skills. We have Refuge Youth Network that's going to be, and has been and is going to continue to be a part of it. Great Commission Schools is using this facility for their gymnasium program and for their basketball program. And Altoona Area School District has their GED program going on here. And we also have, John Seeley here with Empowering Lives, and that's an important ministry an agency, because they run our kitchen. That's what you're hearing, all that banging and crashing going on in the background, because they're providing meals for schools that don't have cafeterias here in the area. So First Frontier Kitchen is just a real great resource to have here. And anybody that knows John, and it seems like everybody does, he's just an exciting guy to be around. Fuel Church is another one on Friday night that meets here. And then there's Because We Care. They're another great organization that's kind of brings together young people in the neighborhood together with the local police, and they have some fun here on a monthly basis. So those are some of the organizations that
they're going to have Nerf Wars.
Nerf Wars.
Yes.
That's not. I thought it was Nerd Wars.
No. You would qualify for that one. They're bringing area police in with area kids, and they actually have Nerf Wars in the building during the winter months. Now, I think that'd be fun. One of the things I want to say is, a lot of people know I'm a pastor in the Pastor Transformation Church, and a lot of people think that the church is behind this and funding this. Certainly, what has been birthed here came out of a church vision, but Transformation Church does not pay for what we do for Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a separate organization, it's a separate board, it's a separate budget. All right, that's not to say people from my church don't give to it, but I just want people to understand that this is not a church, this is not funded by the church. And we really need people to understand that and come alongside it as a separate faith-based initiative, organization that is fully funded outside the auspice of our church.
Yeah.
That's really, really crucial, because many times I'm out in the community probably as much as anybody is in a sense of meeting people. And they'll often say that, well, that's that Transformation Church's deal. And I have to always explain, hey, it's bigger than Transformation Church. It really is a community outreach. So we need community partners, frankly. We need folks to come alongside of us. We need some folks to say, we want to do something significant. And so, there are expenses. For instance, we need a new roof, just to give you an example. We need a new roof. Above all, you need a roof. This building needs a new roof. And that's a major expense. And so we're kind of inviting people to yoke up with us. We realize, I think Pastor Jim, you'll say this, maybe we're the face of it, but we realize we don't do anything alone. I think you guys would say the same thing. Nobody does anything alone. We are always partnering with somebody to get something that's bigger than ourselves done.
Peter, if people are interested in giving to the Nehemiah Project, donating funds or their time, etc., how do they go about doing that?
Well, as I've already mentioned, our phone number is 814-201-2096, and you can give us a call. Secondly, you can go to our website, tnppa.org, and you can use our giving portal there and become a part of it. Some people want to just kind of get to know us a little bit before they start to give, and if you want to do a tour, as I've already mentioned, come and be a part of a tour. And one of the other things that people can do is they can lease from us. We have a variety of ways in which people lease. You can do a one-time event here, and it's kind of just a single-day event. You can lease for short periods of time, let's say every Thursday night for 8 weeks, or you can rent on a regular basis, which would be, let's say, every Friday night for as long as you're doing what you're doing. And then you can do some full-time leasing where we just designate a space to you, and that's your space and you own it, and you lease from us on a full-time basis. That's some of the leasing opportunities that are here. I think it's important to note that this is the right place for kids. We're focused on children and families. We're focused on changing generations. It's not to say exclusively, however, that that's all that's going to go on here. So there are other opportunities and some things that people are doing that aren't necessarily always related to children, but the general focus of our operation is children. So if you have a leasing idea and you want to be a part of it, come and talk to us. We'd like to make it happen with you. So we really want to invite some folks to be with us this coming Saturday from 10:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. We're going to have just a kind of a Christmas drop-in. The bounce houses are going to be here for kids. Arts Altoona is going to be here. We're going to be having some fun doing arts and crafts. And I think we might see a very special guest here. I think Santa Claus might show up. It's going to be a lot of fun. The whole family, the whole neighborhood's invited. And of course, the city's invited. If you're under the sound of my voice, come on out on Saturday, December 22nd. 10:30 to 1:30. There's food. It's free of charge. It's going to be a lot of fun, and look forward to getting to know you. let's make some connections. Let's get to know one another. I think you'll be impressed with what the Lord is doing and with what we're doing together with our partners. It's going to be exciting. And so we're inviting you to become a part of the solution to this community. We're inviting you to rewrite the story. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Pastor, do you have anything else that you would like to say?
You know, I think as we finish up, one of the things I'd like to say, first of all, is thanks to all of you who have been a part of making this whole process happen so far. There's been a lot of people getting involved, a lot of people have helped, a lot of organizations, and we're really appreciative of that. The other thing I would say is I always want to make sure that we say the reason we do this. This wasn't our idea. We believe this is God's idea. We believe that He's given us a heartbeat for a city, a heartbeat for a neighborhood, because it's His heart. And that's why we do it. And the other thing I would say is we sure could use some other partners. We could sure use some help. And so if you have a heart for kids, if you have a heart for this neighborhood, if you have a heart for this city, we're going to ask you to get involved with us, get involved with these other organizations, as well as so many other great organizations that are in this city. Because truly, it's true, we're better together.
Thanks for watching Join the City True Stories. Join us next week as we highlight another person or organization having an impact in our community. Be encouraged because God is moving in our city.